You feel it before it happens. The tightness climbing up your throat, the heat behind your eyes. You haven't made a sound. Your face hasn't moved. The tears are still seconds away. And the dog is already crossing the room. It puts its head on your knee before the first tear falls, before you've said a word, as if it heard something you didn't in a room that was completely silent. So, how does it know? How does an animal sense a human is about to cry, sometimes before the human is sure of it themselves? Start with a fact that makes the whole thing stranger than it sounds. Crying is one of the only things on Earth that is uniquely, completely human. Plenty of animals make tears. They use them to clean and protect the eye, the same way you do when you chop an onion. But weeping from emotion, tears triggered by grief or joy or heartbreak, has never been confirmed in any other species. The Dutch researcher Ad Vingerhoots, who has spent his career studying it, argues humans may be the only animal that cries from feeling, which means the dog watching you tear up has never seen a single member of its own kind do it. The signal means nothing in its world. It has no reason to understand crying at all. And yet it reads you anyway. The real question isn't whether animals understand tears, it's how they catch what's coming long before the tears arrive. In 2012, two researchers at Goldsmiths, University of London, Deborah Custance and Jennifer Mayer, set out to test it. They brought 18 dogs into a room with their owner and a total stranger. On cue, one of the two people would either talk, hum in a strange way, or pretend to cry. Then they watched what the dogs did. The dogs went to whoever was crying. They approached, they nuzzled, they licked, and they did it in a low, gentle, submissive way, the body language of comfort. And here's the part that mattered. When the stranger was the one crying, the dogs didn't run to their owner for reassurance. They went to the stranger. If the dog was simply upset and seeking comfort for itself, it would have gone to its person. Instead, it went to the source of the sadness, whoever that was. It wasn't soothing itself, it was answering the distress. But approaching someone in tears is one thing. Actually understanding the emotion behind them is another. Maybe the dog just finds crying strange and comes to investigate. So researchers had to ask a harder question. Can a dog actually recognize an emotion as a concept the way you do? In 2016, a team led by Natalia Albuquerque at the University of Lincoln found the answer. They showed dogs two human faces side by side, one happy, one angry. Then they played a single sound, a voice that was either cheerful or furious. The dogs spent longer staring at the face that matched the emotion in the voice. Happy voice, happy face. Angry voice, angry face. To pull that off, a dog can't just be reacting to a sound or a picture. It has to hold an idea in its head, a sense of what angry is, and match it across what it hears and what it sees. That kind of emotional categorization had only ever been proven in humans. Dogs don't just notice your expression, they have a concept of your feeling, which finally explains the thing you started with, how the dog knows before the tears. Because it isn't reading your face at all, it's reading your chemistry. In 2022, Clara Wilson and her colleagues at Queen's University Belfast ran a study that should change how you think about your own body. They had people do a stressful math task, then collected samples of their breath and sweat before the stress and after. Trained dogs were asked to pick out the stressed sample by smell alone. No faces, no voices, just odor. The dogs identified the stress samples with an accuracy of nearly 94%. The conclusion was simple and a little unnerving. When you become stressed, the chemical makeup of your breath and your sweat physically changes, and a dog can smell the difference, even in a person it has never met. Think about what that means. In the seconds before you cry, your heart rate is climbing, stress hormones are flooding your system, your breathing shifts, none of it is visible. But all of it is pouring off your body as a scent, a chemical broadcast in a language you can't even perceive. By the time you feel the tears coming, your dog has already smelled them coming. It isn't predicting your sadness. It's detecting the storm in your bloodstream that you haven't finished having yet. This is the same ability we now lean on without thinking about it. It's why dogs can be trained to warn people before a panic attack. sensing the surge of stress chemistry before the person consciously feels the wave hit. The animal isn't guessing, it's reading a signal that arrives early, one we don't have the senses to catch in ourselves. Your dog isn't reacting to your tears, it's reacting to the chemical weather front that shows up before them. And it isn't only dogs. Horses have been shown to read human facial expressions, their heart rates rising when they look at an angry face. In one study, even goats turned out to prefer photographs of smiling people over frowning ones. The pattern is hard to miss. Animals that spent thousands of years living alongside us seem to have been quietly tuned to our emotional signals, picking up the broadcasts we never knew we were sending. But here is where we have to be honest, because the science has a hard limit. Detecting your sadness is not the same as caring about it. A dog smelling your stress and feeling pulled toward you doesn't prove it understands why you're hurting or that it feels sympathy the way you imagine. The researchers behind that very first crying study were careful about this. Their most cautious reading wasn't empathy at all. It was emotional contagion, the dog catching your distress like a yawn, and a lifetime of being rewarded for coming close when you're upset. The dog might be moved by love, or it might simply be uncomfortable, driven to make the bad feeling in the room stop. Science can measure the detection down to the percentage point. It cannot reach inside the dog to find out whether anything tender is happening in there. So we're left with something stranger than a simple yes. Crying is the most human act there is, the one emotional signal no other creature on the planet even possesses. And yet the animal lying beside you, who has never wept and never will, often knows the tears are coming before you do. Not because it understands heartbreak, because it has spent its entire life reading the animal underneath the person. The breath, the heartbeat, the scent of a nervous system tipping over the edge. You think you're holding it together, you think no one can tell, but to the creature at your feet, you lit up like a flare minutes ago. And it crossed the room, not because it knew what sadness was, but because something in you changed and it was the only one in the room paying close enough attention to notice. Maybe being truly known was never about being understood at all. Maybe it was just about being read completely by something that never looked away.